All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And ever since way before the launch of this game, we've been hearing a lot from the executive producer Mark Rubin, who is also obviously a part of the dev team and is there with them side by side through this entire process. I'm sure people that are in the XDefiant, what's it called, the Discord or whatnot, have been hearing additional parts of information and stuff like that here and there, being in communication with the devs, which I am not a part of. But with that being said, there is kind of this elephant in the room, right? And you guys over the last year or so have been really quick to tell me about this one elephant. And what is the elephant? Ubisoft itself, right? So with that being said, I ended up doing a little bit of research, and months ago I ended up making a video in terms of my research findings, because I haven't focused on Ubisoft games hardly at all ever since, I'll tell you, probably ever since the original Assassin's Creed, or maybe the first two original Assassin's Creeds. It's kind of like been a back and forth thing or whatnot, but there's no doubt that over the years they actually did create some really good IPs. As a matter of fact, back in, I believe, 2006, I played maybe even before 2006, actually, I played Splinter Cell. And I remember enjoying it quite a bit. And of course, Michael Ironside's voice, he's always going to be Sam Fisher to me. But with that being said, they've created a lot of really good IPs and franchises over the course of their iteration. But because there's been, and rightfully so, a lot of fans have been really displeased in terms of how everything's been handled, so to speak, with their games and their franchises and the directions they've gone in. You guys have been concerned, and that's basically your biggest worry when it comes to XDefiant. It's like, hopefully Ubisoft doesn't get in the way. Well, as of earlier today or whatnot, I actually managed to find a little bit of an interview with the CEO of Ubisoft, and he actually gets asked about XDefiant. In the first part of the question, in the first question, so to speak, he actually mentions XDefiant, and then the second question is specifically about XDefiant, and basically everything else that he gets asked has there's no mention of XDefiant in it. So we're only going to be covering XDefiant with these two specific questions. So I am going to scroll up real quick and do the first question. Okay, so here we go. So the question is, while some games as a service have retained a significant loyal player base, we've seen a great number of publishers try and fail in this landscape. What can Ubisoft bring to the games as a service market to ensure that they stand out from the crowd? And he answers, we need to continue to listen closely to our players and make well-informed decisions on where to focus our efforts. Because if you succeed at games as a service, you can succeed for the long term. Let's look at XDefiant. There's a lot of work to do, but it was able to attract 11 million players in a short time. And that number will increase with all the work done by the team to ensure Season 1 brings a lot more to the existing experience. It's all about making the right choices and sticking to them. So this answer I actually really liked, so to speak, because it kind of hints that, like, hey, we're going to let our developers do their thing, and we're going to be listening to the players, and we're going to be making the right choices by that and sticking to that. And so far that actually seems to be very accurate and very correct, because that is exactly what the devs have been doing. And as I mentioned before, if they continue on this streak, so to speak, XDefiant's going to be a hell of a game, and the community is going to be hella happy, and the game is going to end up being that much better for it. But anyway, let's get into the second question that's mentioned about XDefiant here. He gets asked, what are your hopes for XDefiant in the future? His answer is, well, outside of it being consistently or continually updated with different experiences and optimized gameplay, I'd love to see it as a serious esport, but really, for a game like this, there's no limit to its future. And we've got a fantastic team on it who are listening to our players and communicating with them, which is so crucial. We've started off strong, but there's still a long way to go, and I'm excited for us to step up to the challenge. That was pretty much his answer. And quite frankly, it seemed like a legit, answer, so to speak, without any BS, really. Now, obviously, if you're the CEO for any game, obviously you're going to give a very enthusiastic answer. You're not going to say nothing but, good things about your game and such and such. However, everything that he pretty much had mentioned in these two little shorter paragraphs is very accurate. There's no bullshit that was said, and basically in terms of what was mentioned here, which is a good thing. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like I mentioned is that the biggest concern, especially among you guys that are more familiar with Ubisoft than I am over the last, decade plus or whatnot, your biggest concern, and of course you bringing it to light to me is also part of my concern as well, is that Ubisoft continues to give the developers freedom. Because again, with these developers that we have, we're actually quite spoiled, believe it or not, in terms of the amount of transparency we're going to get, the level of communication we're going to get, and of course, the level of love that the game is going to get, as well as the fact that when you have this level of communication and transparency between players and devs like this, you can literally create something great within the great gaming universe, so to speak, within the game itself, and make it that much better. And it's literally what can make a game go from very mediocre to very legendary, so to speak. Because as he mentioned, and he wasn't wrong, XDefiant has a long way to go. As much as we love this game, there's nobody that can deny that the game still has a long way to go. Between the desync issue that needs to be resolved, between the amount of content that the game actually needs to have, a progression system, the rank system, and what other factions and stuff like that are going to be added in and stuff like that, game modes and everything like that. All these things are very important. They actually add up to what ends up being the entire package, as well as other things that may come in the future, So we know that ranked is coming. We know additional multiplayer content is coming. But later on down the line, a couple of years from now, if the team ends up expanding actually because of the game succeeding, right? And if the team ends up expanding, you keep the multiplayer guys at multiplayer, so that way multiplayer can continue to get love at the pace that it's been getting, as well as the transparency and everything else. And then who knows, maybe you can make that Helldivers /Rabbids hybrid game, so to speak, that Mark Rubin kind of teased, so to speak. And with the success of Helldivers 2 and how players have basically been saying nothing but good things about that game, as well as other developers, including Mark Rubin himself, it's it'd be kind of cool to have something like that with XDefiant, wouldn't it? With all the different kind of IPs that they have at their disposal and stuff like that. Why not? Whatever gets more people on board, I'm all about. Now, obviously, my main thing is multiplayer. However, if I end up enjoying whatever else that they make in the future, other than Battle Royale, with all due respect to Battle Royale, I'm not a Battle Royale guy. It's just not my thing. But whatever they decide to do, or even if it means making taking an idea from a general multiplayer game, but expanding it to something huge, to where you have a huge player base or whatnot, but attracts, multiplayer players into the game as well as Battle Royale players. I mean, I would try it out. As long as it's not a one life game mode or whatnot, I would certainly try it out and see it and see if it works and what they do with it or whatnot. So the future is looking bright, as long as, the cards continue to be dealt right. And as long as we, the community, and they, the devs, continue to have this level of transparency back and forth. Because quite frankly, when you look at all the IPs and if the developers have their heads and their hearts in the right place and everything like that, I have to agree, at least in theory, in terms of what the man said, and that is that, there's really nothing you can't achieve, So, and the only way you actually limit yourself is by not listening to your players. You know what I mean? There's a lot of really good and talented players out there that are not just good at the game, but they're actually really good with ideas and things that they would love to see. So, and you guys in the comment section, some of you guys have mentioned that you would love a zombies mode or a horde mode of some kind or something like that, especially with the kind of IPs that are that are on full access here under the Ubisoft umbrella. So I get it. I understand it. So, and of course, within that first year of XDefiant, it would be really cool to see exactly how the game ends up from where we are today into where we're going to be at in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now. So with that being said, what do you think? What do you guys think? Are you guys, does this make you more optimistic? Are you still carefully optimistic or whatnot? Now, obviously this was, very short as far as XDefiant is concerned, and we can't really, basically go all in sort of when it comes to this, but, are you, basically what I'm trying to ask you is, does this sound good? Does this give you a little bit more hope in terms of Ubisoft themselves, the executives not interfering with the creation of the game and just letting the devs do what they do? Because obviously when you look at it from both sides, it's yeah, of course, people are going to always be cautiously optimistic, because when you're dealing with, it's one thing to deal with the devs, but it's a whole other thing when you got corporate, you know what I mean? So those are, but if they actually manage to do it right and to be in sync, then I think at least in theory, we should be fine. That's for sure. But we'll see. We'll see how the chips fall and we'll see what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, again, I'm going to continue to remain cautiously optimistic. As far as the devs go, I have complete faith in the devs so far. And as long as that faith doesn't get snubbed away from them by the corporate higher ups or whatnot, then I think we'll be fine. But again, I can't predict the future, and neither can you. So it's we're going to just have to wait and see how it turns up. But so far, it's great. I can't wait for season 1. We're less than a week away, and we've got the Insider event coming up in 3 days or whatnot. So we're going to know pretty much what we're going to be getting, and I can't wait to make a video on it so that way I can express my excitement, and of course you guys can tell me what you guys think in the comment section, which is easily one of my favorite things when doing this YouTube thing. So with that being said, feel free to let your comments be known down below in terms of what you think, and I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.